Hello, everyone. Hold on. Hello, everyone. You were checking out some of what we were going to be doing. The reason we're set up this way is originally we were going to have Ian and Jimmy and Mark were going to be here, and we were going to do a stream, which we're going to have to we'll redo it later. Having some computer issues. As far as the computer, I'll get to that. I'll get everything in a second. Computer. So, those of you that remember, we had some issues for the draft. I think everything's been solved now. First of all, big thanks to Greg Noble. He took the computer and he got it all reformatted and whatever else he had to do. So everything's good there. The reason we had technical difficulties today was there was some drivers that had to get installed to do the stream. So these guys got here about 8:30ish. And we talked for a bit. So I've been trying to get the stream going since about 9:30. And literally they both had to go. And just as they're getting really, I'm like, oh, I got to figure it out. So that was unfortunate. And I do thank them for coming. Ian couldn't make it today, unfortunately. He had some things going on. So we're going to table that one for a future. It's going to be a how to trade stream. And some varying personalities as far as trades have gone down the league. And just the whole point of that one is to hope to maybe get some good trading going and help people that maybe some people I think some people struggle. And I'm one that makes some dumb trades myself. So I could use some extra. I think we could all use a little extra help in that area. But what this one is going to do, and I was going to do this one today because I was going to have these three guys here, is so over the next several weeks, going into our league meeting, I'm going to do a recap of each of your teams. And today I was going to do Mark and Ian and Jimmy and myself. And then over the next several weeks I was going to do three. So I'm going to do those four right now. I really wanted them here so I could put them on a hot seat. We could talk about their team with them here. But so what I'm going to do is, and I usually do this during the red carpet stream, but sometimes I don't get them all, and some people don't want to participate. And I think if I do it in this format, I think they'll get a lot more covered. And by doing just 3-4 teams at a time in an individual stream, I think it gives more attention, and then the people can look at how they want to look at it. So today we're doing, start with Jimmy actually. And so what you're going to hear is, well, you know what, we'll start with mine. Mine's the first one that came up here. So I'll read off the record of each team, how many points they scored, where they ranked in the league with that, how many points that they gave up, or how many points were scored on them, and where they ranked in that category. We'll look at any game that was a 100-point differential. We'll look at those, because those are usually the ones that you figure 100 points in your roster. It doesn't take much to turn that into either a win or a loss. So, and then we'll look at potential keepers for each team and others that may be considered as keepers. So again, we'll start with my team. I was 6-8, which put me 12th for the year. For points for, I had 18,179 points were scored. That put me 9th in scoring. Points against, 18,928 points were put up against me, which ranked me at 13th in that category. I only had 3 games that were under 100-point differential. All were lost. I'm sorry. 1 was a win and 2 were losses. I lost to Liam by 93. I lost to Ian by 93. And then I beat Ergang by 68. So I guess in all fairness, if you took those 2 losses and if those could have been turned around, that would have put me at 8-6. I don't think that puts me in the playoffs, but it put me in the conversation. I was in the best of the rest tournament. I lost in the first round to Ritz. And then I lost in the fifth place game to Liam. So as far as my keepers projected, and I guess in a lot of ways I'm giving up my 5 keepers, of course, unless I was to make some type of trade in the off season. So the 5 keepers I have are quarterback Trevor Lawrence, running back Jonathan Taylor, wide receiver Chris Olave, wide receiver Garrett Wilson, and wide receiver Devonta Smith. Others that could be considered as keepers, running back J.K. Dobbins and running back Ty Chandler. Those could be players I could trade away as well. Dobbins, I believe, is a free agent this year. Might not be with Ravens. He's had some injury issues. Maybe a fresh start is what he needs somewhere else. And in Ty Chandler's case, of course, he had a pretty strong end of the year. I picked him up as a free agent when he started getting some runs going. So he actually kind of did pretty well for me at the end. So he's worthy of someone's roster spot potentially. So that was my team. We'll do Jimmy next. So Jimmy, he finished 2-12, which put him 15th place overall. For points for, Jimmy scored 15,506 points, which put him 15th in the league. And points against, he gave up 18,170, which put him at 9th in the league. As far as close games, I know I always say the 100. I'm gonna give him 3. So he had 2 that were 52 points. That was a loss to Megan and a loss to a loss to Greg. And then he had a loss to Tony. That was 105 points. Of course, if he was to win all 3 of those games, it still wouldn't have put him in the playoff contention. Potentially could have put him in the conversation for the best of the rest tournament. But more importantly, being as those are all playoff division-winning contenders, except for Tony was just the playoff team, that actually could have hurt their standings. So Greg, it wouldn't have mattered. Megan, it could have potentially cost her the division. And in Tony's case, it may have actually kept him out of the playoffs. Jimmy's projected keepers are quarterback Jordan Love, wide receiver Jamar Chase, his cousin, receiver Deontay Johnson, running back A.J. Dillon, and defensive lineman Aiden Hutchinson. I have 5 other considerations for him as keepers or potential tradeaways. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers, running back Jamal Williams, tight end Cole Kmet, running back Clyde Edward-Helaire, and wide receiver Jacoby Myers. Next, we will do Mark. Like I said, this would have been more fun if those guys would have been here, because then we would have had discussion. I think we would have had discussion potentially on some of the closer games, and also with the who their keepers would have been. So in Mark's case, Mark finished 9-5, which put him in 5th place overall. Points scored. He scored 18,907 points, which put him 7th place in scoring. And as far as giving up, he gave up 17,375, which put him 5th in getting scored against. As far as close games, he only had 2 that were under 100, and one was a loss and one was a win. He beat Anthony by 80, and he lost to Ian by 81. And if he would have turned that Ian one around, that could have actually potentially put him in conversation to win his division. In the keeper category, with him, he has some pretty good options, to be honest with you. We're looking at the 5 are wide receiver Jordan Addison, running back Breece Hall, running back Jalen Warren, wide receiver Rashee Rice, and running back Devin Singletary. He's got, like I said, 5 considerations. Wide receiver Drake London is 1 consideration. Quarterback Justin Fields. Running back Raheem Mostert. Tight end George Kittle. And wide receiver Christian Kirk. And after I really thought about this, after I'd written it, I could see him not keeping Singletary and then keeping either Kittle or Kirk. And the last one that we'll do on this stream is Ian Rice. Ian Rice was the runner-up for best of the rest. His record was 8-6, which put him 8th overall, 8th place. He scored 17,124 points, which was 14th in scoring. And he gave up 17,503, which put him 6th place for points that were given up. He had a few games that were under the 100 mark. He beat Jordan in week 2 by 35 points. He lost to Anthony by 42 points. He beat me by 93 points. He had a win against Ergang by 49. He beat Mark by 81. Lost to JB by 90. And he beat Jordan by 96. So in all consideration, if you take the ones that were losses that were close, which was only the 2, if he was to win both of those, he would have been a playoff team for sure. He wouldn't. If he would have just won one of those, he probably would not have made the playoffs, but he could have potentially have gotten a first round bye in the best of the rest. His keepers, quarterback Jalen Hurts, wide receiver Cooper Kupp, running back Bijan Robinson, wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, and running back Chuba Hubbard. Other considerations, wide receiver Jaden Reed, and wide receiver Rashid Shaheed. And I'm sure I spelt that one wrong, or said that one wrong. So all in all, Ian had a great turnaround for the season. Ian, of course, was the Peyton Hillis Award winner last year, which goes to the team that finishes last place. So he shot way up. And like I said, he was in the conversation for most of this year as a playoff contender. The overall season, I thought we had some good parity going, to be honest with you. We had a couple teams that, of course, were never in the discussion. They had some struggles. Jimmy was one of those. I really had some struggles, to be honest with you. How I ended up with 6 wins, I still don't know. But yeah, Ian's, and then, so when I look at these, the other thing I was going to do, we'll go back to my team real quick. I mean, my team, I look at, I think I have a solid nucleus. I have what I think is a franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. I feel like I have one of the upper echelon receiving cores. And I have, I like to consider the best running back in football, Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, I'll have to get another running back in the first round. I actually have 3 first-round picks. Only one of them is 2 of them are lottery picks, and then one is not. But one of them is a lower echelon. It's the 10th. It'd be the 10th pick so it's the least chance of actually moving up. In Jimmy's case, and when I really look at Jimmy's team, of course, our keeper date is June 1st. That never changes. The Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that could be when he ends up keeping. Edwards-Helaire, although hasn't had a strong campaign over the years, he is a free agent, and maybe a change of scenery might help his career. He could keep Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the only So Jimmy's the only team in our league that has an original, because he's a charter member, has an original first-year player on his roster. So Aaron Rodgers has always been on Jimmy's roster. He's never not been on his roster. So he's always kept him. So he could go with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. With Aaron Rodgers coming back, he's locked in at quarterback. He doesn't have to even worry about that position. And, of course, Jordan Love had a great season, especially at the end. He really came on strong, showed great potential. With Cole Kmet was a player that definitely turned it up this year. I remember coming out of college out of Notre Dame, he was one of the higher ranked tight ends coming out. I don't think he started off very well in his first couple of years, but definitely the second half of the season he came on strong. So that's also someone that Jimmy could look at. Maybe I'll keep Edwards-Helaire and Kmet instead of Dillon and Hutchinson. Then go to Mark. Now, in Mark's case, Mark has a lot of room to move around. Like I said, when I really look at this, thinking about it, he might not keep Jaylen Warren. He may go Addison, Breece Hall, Rice, and then keep Kittle and Kirk. He might keep Kittle and Mostert. He's got a lot of... Where I'm going with this is he's got a pretty decent nucleus here to work with going into his 2024 season. And in Ian's case, Jalen Hurts obviously had a great year, kind of tanked at the end, unfortunately for him. Cooper Kupp, of course, now there's a little competition in the house with that Puka Nacua. Bijan Robinson had a pretty solid rookie year. Jerry Jeudy, always a solid receiver. I'm not upper echelon, but definitely someone that could be a starter for him, of course. And then with that fifth spot, I think is where he's got a little room to play. Right now, Chuba Hubbard is the starting running back in Carolina. That could change. Shaheed had a great year for the Saints. And Jayden Reed, who was a rookie, I believe, this year for the Packers, really showed at the end of the year, especially in the playoffs, that he could be a potential player for Ian going forward. So I'd say if there was someone that's going to come off his list, it'd probably be Hubbard. Will be the first one off to replace with either Reed or So, all in all, and you'll see a trend with me saying this, I think for the most part, a lot of our teams, because this is only a 5 keeper year, if they have a good draft, I think any team in our league could potentially have a championship playoff team. Of course, if they hit the draft right, and that's the key. And there's some pretty solid rookie play coming out this year, both in the running back and the receiver and the quarterback positions. And of course, being the 5 keeper year, so some of these names I just read off to you. So, for example, let's say Mark went with the 5 I said he was going to keep. You look at George Kittle would be a potential first round pick. Christian Kirk's a potential first round pick. Mostert's a potential first round pick. You can make an argument for London as well. And then, well, not in my case. I don't think mine would be first round picks. In Jimmy's case, I think depending situation, Edwards-Helaire could go bottom end first, early second. The other ones I mentioned, maybe not as much. If he was to not keep A.J. Dillon, Dillon probably doesn't go in the first, probably the second, third, the latest. So all in all, Jimmy didn't have the strongest year. I didn't have the strongest year. But like I said, I think either one of us could turn around and be playoff contenders next year. Of course, we all have new divisions. I will remind you of all of those. 1 second. So back when we had our draft, we had a drawing because it was voted on to have new divisions. So just to remind all of you, so the old divisions, so I'll read off the old East first. So the old East was Jimmy, myself, Liam, and Greg. Greg, of course, won that division. So this year, or in 2024, the East will include Rich Nillette, who finished second place in his division, the South Division. Sorry, the Western Division. It'll have Jordan, who won the Southern Division. It'll have Mark, who finished second in the Southern Division and made the playoffs. And it'll also have Anthony, who finished in first place, and he won the North Division. I mean, he finished first place in his division. He won the North. So you have right there, that division has 3 playoff winners, or three playoff teams, and the best of the rest winner. So potentially that's going to be a really, really tough division. Then we go to the North. And in the North you have Greg, who won the East this year. Kyle, who unfortunately had the worst record in the league. Peyton Hillis Award winner. Nick Ergang, who finished fourth place in the North, so he's actually staying in his division. And Nick Ritz, who just missed out on the playoffs, finished third place in the North. So those two are actually staying in their division. Like I said, anything could turn around. Ritz was a strong team most of the year, and then he had some issues. Ergang also, when I do Ergang, you'll actually find out Nick Ergang is going to be in a very good place. He had a lot of close games in 23, and he could have been a playoff team, to be honest with you. Some of those close games would have been turned around. And of course, Greg was in his first year and went all the way to the playoff. Went all the way to the championship game. Had the best record going into the playoffs, and so he's got a good situation going there. We go to the West. So the West has Jimmy, who finished in last place in the East. Tony, who finished second place in the North, but won the entire league. League champion in 23. JB Muhlenberg, so he finished in fourth place in the South. But when you look at his 5 keepers, he's got a strong keeper. Of course, just 2 years ago, of course, that was Guy's team. And that was a runner-up in the championship game. And also Liam is in the West. He was third place in the Eastern Division during the regular season. Finished 5th place overall. He's got kind of a solid nucleus as well. I said it comes down to it. You have the right draft, you could really do well. In the South, we have Ian, who finished third place in the South. So he's actually a returning Southern member. And like I just went over his team, he was in that playoff conversation most of the season. Brady Bailey, he finished third place in the West. However, most of the season he actually was winning the West. But unfortunate quarterback play kind of led to his demise. And I think one thing you'll see when I go over his 5 potential keepers, it's a very, very dangerous team if he can nail the right quarterback in the draft. Megan, she of course won the Western Division, competed in her first playoff. And finally myself, who finished second place in the Eastern Division, but 12th place overall. I apologize. I think I said Liam was 5th place. That was actually, Liam was 11th place. So, those are the new divisions, and we'll go over these again. We have our league meeting. I'll give the reminder on that. The schedule is already done for the 24 seasons, been done. So that'll get unveiled at our league meeting. As a reminder, if you have any any voting ideas, get them in to me by this coming Friday, the 16th. And then next weekend, I'm going to do another one of these. And I'm also going to do a stream for to announce the things up for vote. Give everyone a month to look those over, ponder, consider, and we'll have that league meeting Saturday, March 23rd, and that will be at 7 p.m. Right here in house or on stream if you have to watch that way. And I'll send out who's going to be here, who's going to watch on stream, and if you can't watch at all, and that's fine if you can't, I'll just get your votes offline ahead of time. Of course, also at the meeting, we'll pass out some of our awards and other various championship prizes. We'll go over the schedule. The trading will open up for the off season. Schedule will be announced. I'm sure I'm missing something. Oh, we'll have our Hall of Fame vote as far as the owner vote. That's something we always do at the league meeting. Everyone will get a sheet. Unless you're not going to be in-house, then I'll get yours offline beforehand. I guess I could get it. It'd be easier if I get ahead of time, because if I start getting a bunch of them, if I start getting a bunch of them, that it's just easier if I get them ahead of time before the meeting itself. And I'll at least email all of you or text all of you individually. And that's another thing I'm going to do next weekend, is I'm going to do a Hall of Fame stream, just to go over a little bit the nominees. So yeah, I'm going to end the stream now. I'll get up and have to go close it. But like I said, I apologize. I'm thankful for the guys that came tonight. I really was looking forward to this stream with them on the how to trade stream. I was really looking forward to their insight. Jimmy, for example, we were talking about one offline where Jimmy's one that doesn't do a lot of trading. And so it would have been nice to get his insight of why he doesn't do a lot of trading. Mark is very strategic in his trading. And mine, I think it all depends what mood I cross. So with that being said, thank you for those that have watched, and look forward to streaming with you guys next week. Take care.